Welcome to Behind the Screens, conversations with background screening pros. I'm Rosen, your host, and I'm excited to have you here. On this podcast, we chat with the people who know the background screening world inside and out. Executives, industry experts, legal pros, and more. We dive into their personal stories and insights to give you a real look at what's happening behind the scenes. Whether you work in the screening industry or are just curious, Behind the Screens bring you the real, unfiltered conversations from the people who make it all happen. Stick around for stories you won't hear anywhere else. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Behind the Screens, conversations with background screening pros. And part of the fun for me in doing this program is not only do I get to talk to people that I've worked with over the years and I know pretty well or somewhat, but I get to talk to people that I don't know as well, new people. And today we have just a fantastic group of people who have impressed me so much with their talent, their dedication, their energy, their perspective, what they bring to the industry. It's just amazing. And I'm pleased to present today's panel, the Background Screening Collective. We have with us Izzy Stapleton. We have Jamie Frankos. We have Megan Martinson and Robin Shaffer. Folks, welcome. Happy to have you on the program.
Hi, Les.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So let's start with the first just general question. Where's everybody calling us from today?
Today I'm calling in from my home office in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Wow, where the weather, I assume, is beautiful and wonderful.
Today it's been kind of interesting, actually. Slightly colder weather for us this time of year, like it was in 73 and gloomy, which is very odd for Florida. So it's very abnormal this weather, but I take it because 73 in April in Florida, it's pretty much unheard of. So
Oh, yeah, wow, you're lucky then. Jamie, where are you calling in from?
Surprise, surprise. I'm in another hotel room on the road. Today I flew from Charlotte to right now I'm in Indianapolis.
Well, welcome to the show. And Megan, where are you calling in from today?
I am in South Jersey, so it's cold here today. It's in the 50s, so 73 sounds amazing to me. But yeah, right over the bridge from Philly.
All right. So we got someone from Jersey today. And Robin, how about you? Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Florida, but I'm on the East Coast, so it's been all rain for the past couple days. But like Izzy was saying, I'll take it. We get beautiful weather this time of year. That's why most people are down here. But yeah, happy to be here.
Wow, well, this is great. Well, we're from all over the place. So let's get right to it. And Jamie, tell us about your current role. Tell us about what you currently do, what you find interesting about it, and also your career path. How did you get from wherever you started to where you are now?
Wow, let me try to condense that in a really short amount of time. I am currently the Vice President of Global Partnerships and Alliances with Fairly. We do social media background checks. We are in Easton, Maryland. And so as most of you guys know and who follow me on LinkedIn, I'm quite the little person on traveling. I like to travel and get my frequent flyer miles. How did I get into this role? Wow. Well, I started out at PricewaterhouseCoopers. I was a change management consultant. And quickly after that, I went to my first startup. And then I kind of just loved being in the startup world. I kind of thrive in the chaos, so to speak. So I've been in with Fairly pretty much since the beginning. And it's been 7 years now that we are actively growing. And so one social media check at a time, right?
Fantastic. I love that, thriving on chaos. So, all right, it keeps you going. Megan, how about you? What are you currently doing, and how'd you get involved?
Currently, I'm the Vice President of Sales and Product Development at Red Trends Technologies. My path, like everybody in this industry, it wasn't intentional coming into background screening. I kind of just needed a job at the moment while I was in grad school. I started off as an in-court researcher at SJV, which became Informed Data. Then I moved into vendor management, into product development, sales, revenue operations, moved over to another smaller wholesaler. And then Red Trends came to me and asked me to come on board and help them open their company and start moving things along.
Excellent. And Robin, how about yourself? What are you currently doing and how did you end up wherever you are?
Thanks for having me. I am an operations executive. I see myself as a systems builder, a force multiplier, and I can do that kind of anywhere. So I'm a little bit of an industry hopper, as I've admitted before. I come with experience across logistics, biotech, mass communications, public sector, and currently finishing up my EMBA, thinking about where I want to have the most impact next. But from this chameleon story, I ended up in screening about 4 years ago. Love the industry. The pattern recognition clicked right in. There's a lot of overlap in what you do operationally in freight logistics and what you do here in terms of order management, cross functional stakeholders, and just the chaos of it all through unprecedented external events and regulations.
Well, that seems to be a recurring theme, and congratulations on working on the MBA. It's quite an accomplishment. So that's very cool. And Izzy, how about you? What are you currently doing, and what was your path from there to here?
So I'm currently the vice president of business development for SAS, which is a wholesale in the space. I'm also the president of Sonora BPO, which is an outsourcing company, also in the space and outside of the space. How I got here, that's a long story. So my journey starts in Brazil. I'm from Brazil originally. Moved to the US after nursing school at 22. I've done nursing. I've been in ER, flight nursing, big nursing for like 12 years. About 7 years into it, I knew it was time for a career change. I just didn't quite know where to go from there. So I ended up in a unicorn startup where I met Robin, and it was a COVID relief company. And we opened a bunch of COVID sites everywhere throughout the whole United States and eventually vaccines. From there, I opened my own CRA for a year and joined my husband's company at SAS right after that. He was my supply chain and he needed a lot of help. So I ended up closing my CRA and jumped ship with him full time. And now I'm here. So that's kind of my way around into the industry. I don't think any of us really kind of came into it as a straight line, but yet we're all here and sticking around and loving every minute of it. So
That's quite the adventure, going from nursing to being involved in starting, running, and growing a business. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
it's an interesting path, a very different one, I think, but I love it. I wouldn't do it any other way.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, it's always interesting to talk about mentors that people have had or influences in your career. Megan, tell us, do you have anyone you want to give out a shout out to or an influencer that you want to mention?
Well, God, I can't boost his ego and call him an influencer. But I would say the person that has had the most impact on my career and who has mentored me the most was Vince Brute. And he is someone that I worked for at SJB slash Inform Data for that whole merger. Yeah, he's really guided me and set me up for success. So I'm very grateful to him.
Oh, fantastic. And of course, it's almost like the Academy Awards. You can thank everyone in the world and you hate to leave people out, but this is sort of, top of mind. So, Robin, what about you? Any mentors or shout outs you want to give as far as your career?
Besides my mother, who's been mentoring me from I was
Hi, Mom.
0 years old, someone I really look up to as a mentor, I actually met him when I was 17. He's the news director. I'm from Belize, Central America, and he's the news director for one of the major news networks there. And he's been doing that from he was a kid himself in a way. So from 17 to now, I've updated him on every major life event, every professional accomplishment, and even personal grief and loss. He was at my wedding. So I think for a lot of us, mentorship, that those mentors become deep, close friends over time and a big part of your development. So
Fantastic. And let's see if I got this right. Izzy, how about you? Anyone you want to give a shout out to or a mentor you want to mention?
Oh, yes. I have to say Kim Curry is definitely the person for me. She's the first person I met even before I was in the industry, and she's been mentoring Seth and I ever since. So shout out to Kim.
Oh, fantastic. And Jamie, how about you? On same question. Any mentors or shout outs you want to share with us?
Yep, I'll give two. My number one mentor and biggest cheerleader will always be my dad. He is 73 years old now and still just any opportunity he can to like a Facebook page or like a LinkedIn post, he will do that. So he's instilled into me my work ethic, and I will always look at up to him for that. As far as the industry goes, my big shout out's going to go to Nick Fishman. I think that he's an OG of the industry. He's a veteran of the industry, and I just really look at him as a friend, but also a mentor. And he's one of those people just has such great insight on so many things that you can just call and say, "What do you think about this?" And he's a good sounding board, and I really admire him within the industry.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, and Nick was a guest producer in the show. And I think it's worth noting that all four of you are mentors as well to other people. I mean, I think I can safely say that you all are very open to advising and working with new people and younger people in entering the industry. So congratulations on that as well. I always love to hear about people when they talk about what I call a proud moment. And people don't like to brag. I get that. And there's this fine line, and you don't want to come off like, too much. But on the other hand, all of us have something in our careers that kind of bring a smile to our face. And it's like, yeah, I did that. That was pretty cool. And it could be personal, it could be professional, just something you want to share with the entire listening world. Again, kind of the brings a smile to your face type moment.
I have been a achievement chaser. Like I'm the kid that always sat at the front and raised my hand. And so, Dean's List, valedictorian, la 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 la, all throughout. But I never really felt those achievements because I was always chasing, I don't know, the next thing. And it wasn't until COVID hit and I had to sit down and do nothing and be locked up in my house that I started really thinking about that pattern, and I had to change my whole life during COVID. I moved out of my country to the US with like 2 grand in my bank account. And when you move to a new country, especially the States, it doesn't matter that you have a master's and you speak Chinese and you did this, you manage this loan, and whatever. You're starting from scratch. $20 an hour, 2020. That was me in that COVID company, climbing, climbing, climbing to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing within that company and then beyond. And that's probably my proudest achievement is that pattern of being able to start over. I've started over in Asia and in the UK, in Belize, and here. And I really feel like I could start over anywhere. So that's where I finally had that. I'm satisfied. I'm content. I'm proud.
Oh, that's great. And thank you for sharing. So, Izzy, what about you? Is something that comes to mind that you want to share that's a smile to your face type proud moment?
Yes, I mean, I am going to bring up really more skills than moments. I think kind of like Robin, I think really the skills are what makes me proud, and because moments are very temporary, but the skills kind of go along with us forever, right? For me, I'd have to say one skill that I really am proud of is my communication skills. There's always room for improvement, but I constantly work at it and it's evolved throughout the years in my many different positions. And, communication is key for success and clarity. So I am proud of that for sure. I'm also proud of my ability to start something without having a clear roadmap or the skill to even get it going.
Right.
I'm not afraid to learning something new, learning as I'm going, looking a little silly along the way because let's be honest, if we're learning something new, you're gonna look silly. And I can do that over and over and over again and always seeking new ways to learn and new things to improve on. So those are my two things that I'm really proud of.
And that's a great point. The second thing you brought up is sometimes you can't let the need for perfection be the inertia or the weight that ties you down. Sometimes you know you're right, you know you can feel it, and sometimes you just have to go for it and solve it as you go along. So that's true entrepreneurship sometimes. So that's fantastic. Well, congratulations. And then Jamie, how about you?
Mine's really simple, Les. Proudest moment that I'll always stick to this are my two boys. I have an 18-year-old and a soon to be 16-year-old. My 18-year-old is graduating high school this year and will be going on to the University of Alabama. So I will be a Roll Tide mom. Those are my two proudest accomplishments. From a personal standpoint in the industry, mine's very simple to be honest. Social media screening is a niche within the background screening world, and I'm just glad that I have a little piece of educating the market on what social media screening is and what's the value. That
That's very good. That's fantastic. Congratulations.
I would say My biggest achievement and thing I'm most proud of is coming from a pretty bad situation. I am in recovery and I share that with everyone. And I've literally come from a place where I could do nothing and I've created this career. So that is in and of itself my proudest smiling moment. Brings a smile on my face. And I share that with people to give people hope because that's the one thing that you don't have when you're in the midst of that hell. So I'm always around if anybody needs to talk or if anybody's struggling.
Oh, fantastic. Well, those are great insights, and I really appreciate you sharing them. Well, let's go on to the Background Screening Collective, which kind of brings all together as a group. For those who haven't listened, it's a great podcast. I highly recommend it. Well, let's talk about the why. What was the defining moment or conversation that made you all realize we need to start a podcast? And what specific need did you see? And I realized that what's really unique about your podcast is you somewhat have a roving team. There's people that have been and new people, which is really, I think, really interesting. So maybe we'll start with Izzy. What was the why of the podcast? What kind of got you all together and say, hey, it's like an old Julie Garland, Mickey Rooney movie. Let's do a musical in the barn. Hey, let's do a podcast. What kind of brought it about?
Interesting question. So we kind of started in a PBSA 2024, end of year. We, SAS, got a booth for the first time, and we got there and realized we've been open for almost 10 years, but no one knew who we were. Not a single soul in this industry knew who we were. So when we came home, we're like, we have to change this. Then all of a sudden, randomly, Megan reaches out and says, hey, let's get on a call. And then we got on a call. And she's like, we need to start a podcast. And then Robin and I were like, okay, let's go. So that's kind of how it all started. It really was something that was brought up, but because of the need to really get visibility within the industry, we're all in for it. And it kind of developed into what it is today, more of a community. And beyond the podcast, we do, events and we do live events. And it's always molding into something different and new. So it's really fun and kind of gets us doing different things and meeting new people. But that's kind of how it all started.
Oh, that's fantastic. So yeah, this common idea, like how do we make people aware of us and how do we differentiate and get the word out and at the same time make connections, have fun, do interesting things and create a sense of community. So I love it. Let's see where we go. Jamie, I think you started, if I understand it right from what I've been told, you joined the cast this year.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I started a LinkedIn newsletter for my own self a year ago, and Megan and I have always been close in the industry, and she introduced me to Izzy and Robin. And I think for me, I look at it from a networking perspective, and if it's an opportunity of all of us in the industry to be able to share ideas and bounce things off of each other, and also ultimately be referrals for each other's business.
That's perfect, great. And Megan, so you were one of the instigators along with Izzy. What's your thought? What was the why for you behind the podcast?
I knew I wanted to do something. I didn't know what it was. When I was at Inform, I started Women in Background Screening as a group on LinkedIn, and we didn't do much with it. I started it, and then life happened. I wanted to bring that to life, and that's when I reached out to Izzy, started reaching out to women in the industry. Then I realized it doesn't have to be women. That group still is there, though, in case we need a women's support group. But I happened to reach out to Izzy, and that was fate. And the rest, it's all history. It happened. But yeah, we needed something for marketing purposes, and we were just missing something like networking. It's lonely working behind a computer screen in a remote world.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great idea that for another voice, another perspective to be heard in a community context where everyone's welcome and can join in. And Robin, how did you get roped into this merry group?
Well, I have formal training in mass communications and I know how to set up a podcast, microphones, cardioid microphone, condenser microphone. So, it's a natural, like I said, I'm a force multiplier. I'm an executor. You have an idea, Liz? You call me, I can make it happen.
Oh, that's fantastic. So the description on the podcast mentions the need to align on to survive and thrive. And we may have already have talked about this, but we can focus on some more of the core emotional connection or the shared beliefs that you all have as hosts and participants on this. We'll hit Jamie on this one.
I think for me, I think everybody would concur is that the community itself, again, is to me, I look at it as a community of networking of individuals, like-minded individuals that are in the background screening industry. And how can we share ideas together? And how can we, hey, do you know this person? And can you maybe give me an introduction? And what do you think of this new bill that passed? And this shooting ideas back and forth in an informal way that people feel comfortable.
I just wanted to add on as well. Those trade shows, they're such a whirlwind. And if you're new, especially if you're new, it can be so intimidating to hit up like, the board members and the industry experts of it all and get their insights. Those people tend to be surrounded by crowds and everyone's moving and in sessions. And so those touch points are so small, you don't get to really hear people's perspectives on things and tap into their expertise and share your own and see where those conversations develop. So a part of it came from that too. Not everyone can access those conferences and those conversations and this knowledge. We just had Scott Paler. And my gosh, talking to a lawyer with all the regulatory changes constantly happening, it's such a privilege. So to add on to Jamie, absolutely the community element and then amplifying that for everyone.
Yeah, I think it's so important having conversations. The more conversations, the more points of connection, the more back and forth, the better. Meg and Izzy, want to jump in on that one?
I agree with everything everybody said so far. Another thing I want to point out, mentorship. We talked about it briefly. It's so important. There are a lot of really, really smart people in our industry who don't have a voice or they're not a face on a screen on LinkedIn, but they're really valuable and we need to help shape them and bring them up, elevate them into our industry. So, part of my goal with the podcast was to create a forum for mentorship opportunities for women in particular out in the being. But that's a problem with remote work. Nobody is sitting there saying, okay, like looking over your shoulder, wow, so and so is doing a really good job. She should do XYZ to move up. So maybe that person doesn't know how to move up, but maybe the podcast can help, or they will have the courage to reach out to one of us, which people have. So that's really important to me. Help elevate people.
That's such a great point. We had a podcast, Women in Screening, and one of the speakers made a point. I think similar to some of the points you're making, is that a lot of time people and it will not actually, stand up for themselves as easily and let people know what they did. Not, and because it sounds like bragging, right? But on the other hand, if you don't have a voice and if you don't keep the record clear and make it clear what your contributions are, you don't want to get lost either. So it's always, they're trying to figure it out. And Izzy, how about yourself? What's the core emotional connection or shared belief as a host that you bring, or as you see it?
Before I answer your question, what you said about people bragging or really telling their stories, how I call it, right? But some people do see it as bragging. That's particularly true for women. I think we all do that in one way or another. And I think that's why elevating women is such a big core of what we all want to be a part of. But for me, was about connections for sure. And that includes pretty much everything the other lady said, right? Connections to mentorship, to referrals, to maybe pick somebody's brain on a problem I'm trying to solve that maybe Megan already solved or Jeannie or Robin, right? I think having that network of people that you can reach out to, whether it's for a referral, for learning, for an opportunity to be in a room, that's what the space really was created to do. And that's what I want to make sure that I continue to make space for.
Boy, I mean, two great points. The fact is, and as you said, that particularly for women members of not only our industry but a lot of industries, you're not wanting to, feeling, oh gosh, it's not, is this really proper for me to speak up and say, well, I did this? Well, yeah, right. I mean, and I think people know there's a fine line between, being obnoxious about it and just being factual and clear. And which I think is important, and then the connectedness. 'Cause I think it's all about connections. So that's all. This is all really, really great stuff. I really appreciate it. One of the things on the podcast is that, and I think it's really interesting. Most of my career I was a CRA, although I was an early wholesaler. I had a company called Reference Pro. We were the first ones to do outsourced verifications. So I had a taste of the supplier side. But when you talk about the wholesaler's perspective, what are the unique joys and frustrations of being a service provider behind the scenes? And are there any unwritten rules of the wholesale business you wish that CRA end users would know?
I would say we're struggling with county crim work. It's being devalued by some other companies. There are so many vendors out there. The price point has just been driven so low. We're facing struggles with courts and local governments trying to redact dates of birth. I don't need to tell anyone watching this podcast about that. It's really hurting people. I met a woman who didn't get a job. She lost her job because the background check couldn't clear her in California fast enough. And that's not the CRA's fault. It's not our fault, the wholesalers either. It's the government's fault. So it's a broken system. They're trying to fix it and to help people, but it's like fixing this over here and breaking this over here at the same time. So that to me is really frustrating. Watching things happen like that, people losing their job, like not getting the job or not getting the apartment that they need because of things that the CRA can't help, things that the wholesaler can't help. I'm frustrated by that. And yeah, it really, I don't know how to decide why.
Well, and it's a little like whack-a-mole. You fix one county or one state, and then another state pops up, and then another, and I've been making this argument for years to various public officials that their outlook is, well, you're making money off selling our data. No, we're providing all sorts of services to the employer and helping you get the data out, and they somehow think, oh, we got to protect this data. Well, no, the job applicant wants us to have the data because they want the job, and so we have these endless discussions, and and finally, I think it breaks through. So but you're right, that really is frustrating.
The amount of time that companies spend dealing with this, especially like the really big companies, it is wild. So that's why, yeah, I absolutely love that PBSA takes that on for us.
Yeah, and PBSA has the access committee, and that's one of the big reasons for PBSA is to fight these government restrictions. But anyway, anyone else jump in?
So it started with the wholesale focus because everyone was in wholesale. Over the year, we have really expanded with our guests, with our scope, with products we're talking about, topics we're talking about. So it was a great basis to start, and now it's expanding more and more into the other functional elements of our work because our industry is so special in that there's so many layers of overlap that don't talk to each other. Like I went to NDAs and I went to PBSC and I was thinking, man, we should all be in the same room sometimes, you know? So I think this serves that as well. Like we are here too, you know? Well, those who are wholesalers.
Exactly. And Izzy or Jamie, you want to add to that?
Yes, absolutely. So you asked about joy. For me, the thing that really brings me joy is knowing how important the information we're providing to our clients for them to make a decision, a very important decision, whether it's a hiring decision, it's an important decision for their business, right? That's the joy to me. And of course, on the other side of that, there's an applicant seeking for a job, seeking for a place to live. I try to keep that part really in the forefront of my mind. These are not just words on the computer, these are real people trying to make their lives better in whatever way. Frustration. When things go right, it seems to be invisible. When things go wrong, it's on the forefront of everybody's mind. It generally lots of frustration without really trying to understand the complexity of all the moving pieces of what we do, right? Lots of parts. So that's the part that frustrates me the most. But again, part of what we do is educate, right? Like Jamie was saying, like that is pretty much a huge part of what we need to be doing for our clients. So that is the frustrating, but also the big opportunity in what we do.
Exactly.
The unwritten rule, let's say it's really a partnership approach to this. Again, I'm going to quote Jamie one more time. Like it's a partnership, not transaction. And it's truly, this industry is built on partnerships. It's very little about just transactions. So I think that part is something that's worth saying. And that means that the best results from everything comes from trust, building a relationship, taking the time to get to know people, spend time with them, and really creating that referral program on people that you do trust, help each other grow in that way. So that's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, and those are some really important points. I mean, I love the idea, and we've talked about with other guests that there's always a human being behind everything we do, but we're in an industry that inherently there's going to be an error rate. I mean, there's just so much data, so many people, and statistically, something's going to go wrong at some point. I mean, it will never happen that it won't, which is why we're so focused on processes and procedures. But the idea that as a partnership, when I was actually in the business, we always treated our wholesalers as members of our own family because we're partners. You're the background industry to the background industry. That's how. Right? And so the CREs don't have anything they could to sell without the wholesalers getting it for them. And so we're all in different parts of the same ecosystem. So it's all really interesting stuff. And Jamie, let me make sure you have a chance to jump in on this one as well.
I just love they're all quoting me on my partnerships, but I think that for me, my perspective is 100%. We are all in this as partners and not transactions. And to piggyback a little bit less after your previous question, in this terms of, I think that in the ecosystem that we're all working in, is that the reality is we all know each other, whether it's first degree, second degree, third degree, right? Like someone knows someone. So if it's a matter of let's all work together and be partners, great. But I may not know that exact person. But guess what? I can reach out to a Megan. I can reach out to a Les and say, I know you know them. Help me out here. So I will preach it and preach and preach it. These ladies know that partnerships are my love language in the industry. I'm a big, big fan of it.
And finally, let's wrap up before we move on to the juicy stuff, like the stuff that happens outside of background screening. What's the single most rewarding aspect of creating and hosting this particular podcast? Is it the candid conversations, the feedback, the connections, or something else? What really drives you? What makes you feel so good about it?
I'll say exactly what you just said, Les. It's the connections, it's the community. I'm big into transparency and I'm big into candid. I like off the cuff discussions.
And that's where a lot of things happen when you just brainstorm. Like Izzy said, you just go for it. And you have these discussions. All of a sudden, someone says something, and the light bulb goes off. And, oh my gosh, yeah! And then a whole new string of consciousness comes out. Right? That's the fun part.
Thing for me was making friends. So the first PBSA that I went to after the podcast came out, I was walking down the hall and like people were like, "Oh, you're the podcast. It's Megan. I love that." And I was like, "Oh my God, what?" But like I got to meet like Rebecca Weiser. She's one of the people that I met just because she was like, "Oh, I'm the podcast." And it turns out like we're good friends like now. So because of the podcast. So it's been really cool to meet new people because we have really cool people in this industry.
All right. Oh, that's fantastic. And Robin or Izzy, want to jump in?
Yeah, I love learning. Number one, I love learning everything. Les, I can learn about like shoelaces for an hour. So when I get to talk with someone one on one or two on one or three on one, it's so fun. And then starting something from scratch, this was an idea in our heads, and now it's a community thriving of 700 plus. And we have over, multiple episodes and I wish I had the watch time metrics to share here right now for this part of the podcast, but ultimately we've built something really fun and really special, and that's the joy. It's seeing something that was in your head now alive and thriving and doing its own thing without you.
And I agree. It really is so much fun. You talk to someone, it might be about something you never thought about, cared about, knew about, heard about, and they're passionate about it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wow, that's interesting. And there's just like so much happening in this world. And Izzy, how about you? What's the most rewarding aspect for you in terms of the podcast?
I'm pretty much just gonna have to echo what the three ladies just said, honestly. The fun thing for me is really getting to know the people. I'm a people person. I learn from people. I like connections. I thrive in those. I need them for myself, right? To learn and to grow. So that's really the biggest thing for me is just meeting the people, not just the titles and the words and their pictures on LinkedIn, but getting to know at least a little bit more who that person is. The thing that's been the most fun for me. And of course, gaining visibility in an authentic way, right? Like it is recorded so we can edit. So it's a little bit more polished than your regular webinar. But at the end of the day, it's us showing up, talking, and, getting ourselves out there. And that's been a really fun, challenging, uncomfortable, and very rewarding experience for me.
Yeah. And I think people really respond to the authenticity. So when you're real and what's coming out is real and people go, oh, okay, whether they agree or disagree or whatever, it's that people really respond to that. So we're gonna jump a couple other topics. So and we may do this really quick as just a quick round robin. But one thing I'm always fascinated about is to ask people about an early lesson that they learned. And we all learn lots of lessons every day in all aspects of our life. But what's something that comes to mind? Just something that it doesn't have to be business related, but if people often tell me something business related, just one lesson you learned early in your career that has stuck with you that you'd like to share, so maybe other people don't make the same mistakes. I mean, there's some mistakes I made that were so bad that I liked them so much I made them again and again.
All of us.
But why don't we'll just do a round robin. I guess we'll just go back and Izzy, if you don't mind, we'll start with you on this one and just go down the list. What's an early lesson you'd like to share and perhaps help someone to avoid?
Well, my broken record phrase that I use for years, and I live by this, is if you don't ask, the answer is already no. So always ask for what you want. And that lesson has really taken me to different countries, different careers, different lives that I never would have had otherwise, just because I sat in front of someone, told my story, and asked for what I wanted because the no I already had. So I really live by that and I use that in every aspect of my life. That was an
God,
early lesson I learned.
that is so true. That's a great quote. If you don't ask, the answer is no, right? And you're never going to get anywhere. So that's a great one. Let's go to Jamie. What's a lesson that comes to mind that you'd like to share?
My early on would probably be is I kind of live by it as listen first, react second. I learned that early on in my consulting career. I think everybody starts off and wants to be strong and go fast out of the gate, but I think if you take a step back and listen first before you react, makes a huge difference. And then the second thing is that I'll give another shout out to my dad is that be humble. I think that we live in a society where as much as it's great to elevate people, but also be humble. Be humble. It speaks volumes of your character.
I think that's so true. The degree to which you're willing to elevate someone really shows who you are. It elevates you as well. So that's a great lesson. Meg, and then we'll go to Robin. Anything what would you like to share?
Everything that everybody said was so true. I would just say making mistakes is the best way to learn. And when you don't get what you want, you're probably getting what you need or what you should have.
Sounds like a Rolling Stones song somehow.
It does. It should be that.
Right.
Yeah. That's a nod to my father. But yeah, I would say always try because it's the worst that can happen. I used to have fear, and sometimes you just have to jump. Just go for it.
Go for it.
Worst thing is not going to happen. Like you think all this horrible stuff might happen, but it really won't. So,
Yeah, I had to add that. I mean, one of the things that's really unique about any PBS and PBSA is that you can go to anybody. It doesn't matter who they are, and if you have a question, 99% of the folks are happy to talk and share. I mean, what they share may or may not be valid. It's up to you to decide. But all right, but
I always
it's
say
always
that
good to
I
get a
feel like
perspective.
I think
I'm sorry.
this is this one industry that I've worked in that it's interesting that if you really think about it, we're all competitors, but we all play in the same sandbox together and are willing to help each other. So I think that speaks volumes to PBSA and also all the people that are part of the industry.
Exactly. And Robin, what about you? We'll finish up this question with you. A lesson you want to share?
I've always been an avid reader, and you asked a lesson I learned early. Shakespeare, I was a huge Shakespeare festival. And this above all else, to thine own self be true. know who you are, know your values, know what makes you tick, and you'll be fine in any circumstance. You'll know what to do. We interviewed Rebecca not too long ago, Rebecca Harris Smith, and she trusted her gut when she advocated in New York for access to the PhD, right? So it's in our industry and everybody's stories. The biggest accomplishments we make, the biggest needle we move is when we trust our gut, know who we are,
That's
confident
great.
on it.
And as soon as I got to go to AI and try to remember which play that came from, but it's on my own self to be true. That's great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that speaks to integrity. I mean, you got to live with yourself. You have to, you have to,
Which is
advocate
the
for yourself.
foundation of our industry.
Yeah. Okay, great. Oh, fantastic. This has been so much fun. So this is, I mean, I'm learning a lot just listening and hearing things. So this has been a really great experience. All of you have mentioned at one time PBSA, and so this is just a group jump in. What has PBSA meant for your careers or your professional development, that sort of thing?
I'll go quick because I'm the newest PBSA, and I just want to say I'm so grateful that they have connected me to the larger picture of what it is we do, and not just here in the US, but internationally. I think their international efforts have been incredible, and just their materials on their website alone. You don't even have to go to do go to conferences, but if you can, the materials on their website alone will help open your mind and see where you fit.
Fantastic. Anyone else jump on in?
I'm going to say my biggest component with PBSA is, and these ladies already know this, I went to all PBSAs last year and I plan to doing the same this year. So my biggest advice to anybody is go be open to PBSAs outside of your comfort zone in the United States. I think understanding what the screening world looks like from a global perspective, not just a United States perspective, opens your eyes to a lot of things.
Great advice. And Meg and Izzy, want to jump on in?
PBSA for me has been a great place to actually get in front of people, their conferences. I had not met anyone in person, essentially, if they didn't work at a company that I worked at before. So the opportunities, I would say, if anything, I wish I could have more, which is why we're trying to do little meetups because I thrive under that. Getting in front of people is really, that's the value.
Oh, fantastic. And Izzy, how about you?
Yeah, for me, it's much like Megan. I think PBSA is kind of like the central place where we all meet, right? Like that's like our home, if you will. And that's really where the magic happens, right? The energy, the learning, the getting to know the people, and just being in a room out of the office, talking to people, presenting, telling your story, telling about your product, but really just telling about yourself and your story and learning about people. That's again where it really is impactful for me because I learn best from people and getting to be in that room with them, it's priceless. So that's why we want to make more room to make more impersonal connections as well because Jamie goes to all of them in international one and I'm looking forward to making to the international ones soon too, but if you're just going to the national ones, right, that's 2 a year, so hopefully we can have even more space to have these connections, so
Well, that's great. You heard it here, folks. You get to be in the room where the magic happens and talk to people and meet people and even the competitors. Yeah. So it's been good. So I appreciate all of the insight. Well, let's move beyond background screening because all of us have lives beyond the background screening industry, right? And sometimes it's hard to remember that. So you gotta keep that work-life balance in balance. Let's talk about the life beyond screening, and we kind of will combine the questions here. Part A is what do you do when you're outside of background screening? Your hobbies, your interests, a little bit in your non PBSA, non screening lives. And number two, you have to reveal a fun fact about yourself that people may not know or realize. And of course, when they do hear it, they'll, unmercifully bring it up to you at every PBSA meeting here afterwards.
So what do I do when I'm not working? Which that's a difficult question for me in itself. But 2 kids. So as I said earlier, Drew, my youngest, plays competitive soccer. So I spend a lot of weekends on soccer fields, and my older son is a golfer, so on golf courses as well. In terms of a fun fact that you wouldn't know,
Wait. So soccer and golf, right?
soccer and golf.
Okay, oh, fantastic. Okay, and the fun fact, and drum roll, please. What's Jamie's fun fact?
I'm a Navy brat, so my dad traveled around the world with my dad. But by the time I graduated high school, I had moved 18 times.
18? Like 1/8? Oh my
I think.
gosh. All right. Why bother to unpack?
Well, maybe that's why I love traveling now. Like when people are like, "Do you want to go on the road? Do you want to go to a different conference? Sign me up."
You're in. All right. That's fantastic. Oh, well. Okay. That is definitely, I've not heard that one before. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I have two little girls, so I spend a lot of time in dance studios right now. I tried to get them into soccer and all that stuff, but I have a runner and then two dancers at the moment. We'll see what happens when they grow up a little bit. I also do a lot of work with refugees and immigrants for my church.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, that's my life. I pretty much take care of my toddlers and work, and that'll be like that for a while, I guess. This was my old party trick at like frat parties. I have something called Ehlers-Danlos, and so I am insanely flexible. And I was told never to do this again. My doctor is like, "Don't do this," but my thumb, I can bend it all the way down so it touches my.
I can't one.
All right. All right. All right. If there's little kids at home watching, all right. Right.
The full split with my legs going like that.
Oh, wow.
So you have a second career as a contortionist, all right? If you wanted to add, okay. And Izzy and Robin, who wants to walk the plank next on this one?
I'll go. So you're hearing my dogs maybe in the background. I'm professional butler to them both, Chihuahua Terrier mixes. They do not sit on the hard floor, only on soft surfaces. But besides that, I make music. I'm in a band called Couch Call. I sew. I have my whole setup with all my fabric over there on my right. I'm in 100 projects. Like I said, I will sit for 2 hours and learn about why the sun looked a certain color of yellow for the afternoon, you know? So I'm a fun factoid. And my fun fact is I know all the prepositions in the English language and I can sit here and recite them for you in 40
You know
seconds.
all the what now? Say it again. I didn't quite hear
All
that.
the prepositions in alphabetical order.
My
Aboard,
God.
about, above, I'm not gonna do that to you guys, but
Don't do it. I'm gonna take your word on that one, but can you do it frontward and backwards? All right. So remind me if we ever play Trivial Pursuit, if I ever go to a PBSA meeting as a Trivial Pursuit, remind me to put you on to make sure I'm on your team. Apparently.
you're like the fifth person to tell me, so we might have a full roster between us, Les.
All right, all right. And Izzy, what do you do outside of between the wholesale firm and the business process outsourcing firm and everything else you do? What do you do for fun outside of that? And what's your secret fun fact?
So, what I do for fun, I love traveling. I've been to over 30 countries. Lately, I haven't traveled as much because, like you mentioned, I'm running two businesses, but pretty soon here, that's going to change. Not the businesses part, but the traveling part. And I'm going to have some more room to travel. So, that's what I love doing.
Fantastic.
I play pickleball kind of obsessively. I play almost every single day in the mornings, and that's my good addiction is playing pickleball. Fun fact about me, I am an adventure chaser, so I've done some interesting stuff. I used to sail as a child, like sailboats. I rock climbed. I have a motorcycle license. I speak 3 languages. I could probably come up with some more fun facts, but
Oh,
that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
wow. Okay. Well, this is a diverse and eclectic and interesting group as I've ever seen. So this is all fantastic. All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with me. So as we wrap up here, and this has just been so much fun, it's hard to believe as we're almost approaching the hour mark. But two things that I like to conclude with. One, and we'll just do a round robin, just jump in. What is a top of mind piece of advice that you might give? I know we already talked about a lesson learned, but going forward, if there's someone in the industry, maybe they're starting off, maybe they're entry level verifier, who knows what they are. What would be your advice to someone who's in the screening industry or thinking of getting in or wants to advance? And what would you say to them? What kind of advice would you give someone who might be entering? And because we talked about women in screening before, what advice might you give a woman who's in the industry who wants to advance?
Yeah.
So anyone, feel free to jump in.
I would say you have to advance at this point. I would say don't enter this industry as an entry level verifier or a researcher because you will be replaced by AI shortly. And I would say if you are in those positions now, now is the key time to try to pivot out of those, learn a new task, reach out to somebody, ask how you can get involved in product, vendor support, anything. I would be looking at how to make sure your job is still there and make sure that where you fit in the industry, that it's going to work out. I would advise someone be careful what they're pivoting to. And if they want to stay in the industry and make sure they're moving into the, revenue side or operations higher up instead of just like initial entry level verifier.
That's great advice. It's a variation. I mean, I've had a couple of people say, make sure that you become familiar with different aspects. But the AI aspect that's the first time someone's articulated. That's very interesting. You don't want to be stuck in a position where you're pigeonholed, and AI might move you out. But you want to make always in life, you want to make yourself more valuable through learning, through becoming indispensable. So that's great advice. Thank you. Anyone else jump in?
I'll just add to anybody in any industry, your personal stock is really the thing you carry with you from company to company, industry to industry. As you're learning, synthesize your learnings, put it out there, push yourself to say that thing, make that comment, ask that question in the conference. You're never too young, too green to ask a question, make a connection, and share your learnings because sometimes the best insights come from people newest to it all and saying, why do we do it this way? So that would be my biggest advice to any professional. Never neglect your personal brand.
And a variation on that, sometimes, when I was still, running a company, sometimes the best ideas came from some people who asked a question who didn't realize that what we had been doing before, we were doing it just because we always did it. And that's a great question. Right. Yeah, you're right. There's no good reason to do it that way. So it's really interesting. I mean, you just can't communicate too much. And Jamie, you want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, my biggest one last would be just be a sponge. In any industry, be a sponge. And then to piggyback a little bit off of Megan, I think things like AI, people are nervous about it, but I would say jump in and embrace it and find ways to use it as tools to help you and assist in your job.
Yep, exactly. And Izzy, what's your thoughts on that? What advice would you give somebody coming into the industry or in the industry?
Well, being the last one of the round robin, I always just end up echoing what they say because they steal all my answers. But essentially, yeah, three main things, right? Stay adaptable. That's what the ladies mentioned. Keep learning, learn the technology, learn the compliance, learn how to do something in a different way. Learn, learn, learn. Don't just sit there and stay comfortable with the knowledge you have. You will become obsolete if you do that. Focus on building relationships. Again, we all talked about this over and over. This is a relationship industry. So spend some time and reach out and make sure that you're doing that work too, because that's really the work that moves you forward in the industry. And just surround yourself with people who support you and challenge you at the same time. You want people that can call you on your B when you need to, and also that can help you, pick you up when you inevitably fall because we all do. So find those people and stick to them.
All fantastic. Well, we're about ready to sign off, and as is my habit and custom, I always give everyone the last word, and we're going to start with Izzy with the last word this time. So the last word is now yours.
Thank you for inviting us, Les. Thank you for this podcast. This is a really cool opportunity to get to know people in the industry because you're interviewing every single person around and it's almost like a library now. Oh, I'm going to meet with this person. Let me watch the podcast. So thank you for doing that. Last words. I would have to say stay connected. That's my last word. Stay connected to the people around you. Make sure you're putting yourself out there and work for what you want.
Perfect. Jamie, any last words?
My last words are simple. It's what everybody's been saying. I would say, lean on your partnerships, lean on your people, lean on your connections. And I'll make it quick, Les. And I'm just be that person and give a shout out. If anybody needs social media background checks, I'm your girl. Reach out to me, Jamie at Fairly. I'm happy to help.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And Meg?
Find what you love and pursue it. And if not, find a good product and pursue that. Because everybody needs really good employment verifications, like at Red Trends.
Okay. And Robin, we're going to conclude with you. Anything left unsaid? Now's the time to say it.
Thank you so much, Les, for having us. If you are hearing my voice or any of our voices on this, we are always happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. If you want to pursue anything we've said further, reach out. We're all very approachable. We reach out to people all the time. I'm sure that's how, we found each other. Les found us, and we're all here on this podcast today talking to each other. So I'm Rob Shaffer on LinkedIn. We all have our info here, and I'm hoping to see y'all and connect with y'all further from here.
Well, that's great, folks. You heard it. So Robin Shaffer, Megan Martinson, Jimmy Frankos, and Isabel or Izzy Stapleton, they all said the same thing. They're available to you. Reach out and touch someone, and they'll be happy to help. Thank you. This has been a fantastic hour we spent together. It has gone by so fast. We could have gone way longer, but I really appreciate it. On behalf of Barry Nix's, the Pre-Employment Directory, who very nicely is our platinum sponsor. I appreciate everyone listening in today. Stay tuned for future podcasts, and let me once again thank our esteemed, extremely talented, and I have to say inspiring panel from the Background Collective who was kind enough to join us today. All right, that was yet another wonderful conversation with a background screening pro. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an update. And hey, if you got a moment, we'd love for you to leave us a review. It really helps get the word out. For more info or to catch up on past episodes, or to make suggestions or to suggest possible future guests, head over to our website. Once again, this is your host, Les Rosen, and it's been a pleasure to bring you another episode. See you on the next episode. Thanks.